Hey, everybody. Let me get my mic here in place. Hello, everybody. Let me turn this music down a little bit. Margot Levette here, and I just thought I'd take a moment. Let's think together. I set it up afraid to begin podcasting, but afraid not to. Yeah. What does that mean? Afraid to begin podcasting, but afraid not to podcast. What provoked this thought is on Saturday, I had the opportunity to actually teach a 2 hour session. These were boomer women, all of them entrepreneurs and very invested in becoming a podcaster, either to go ahead and add it to their own personal business, their business, or to a something that is near and dear to their heart. One woman has a series of YouTube interviews that she wants to pull together and share with the world. So, getting ready for this day where we are going to, actually learn how to lay the bones down and become a podcaster, they all told me about the fear of podcasting. Who's going to want to listen to me? Quite a few exchanged the opportunity of conversation with who's going to listen to me. Can I really do this? What is it going to mean as far as extra time with my business? The regular fears, the normal fears of should I podcast? And my answer to everyone was, you have a business and people need to know who you are, what you're all about. So why not be that person that they may not know who you are and actually become the podcaster? Why don't you go ahead and show the world, share with the world your expertise? If it's pipe fitting, if it's grocery bagging, that type of thing. Everybody, I guess what I'm trying to say is that everybody brings something to the table, and we can't let our fear of podcasting, should I start a podcast? We cannot afford to let that stop us, because you don't know them now, but somebody's waiting to hear what you have to say. Only you can resonate with them. I can't tell you how many times people have said, "Girl, I'm so glad you were transparent about being a reinvented podcaster, and not just a podcaster, but a professional podcaster." People want to see what you're doing. Tell us about the journey. So I exchange that information, and I also tell stories, tell different stories that have come into becoming a podcaster. Needless to say, these women. Oh, hey, Cindy Lee. Yes, podcasting is amazing. So needless to say, these ladies, they listened to me, and we had the 2 hour course, and they came in because there was pre-work, and then we had the class. And now in 2 weeks, we're going to meet together one-on-one so that I make sure everybody's good and ready to, launch if they haven't already launched, because I don't like to take people's money. I want to go ahead and make sure that we have podcasters out there, because I believe in the voice of each and every person who even has the inkling to podcast. And Cindy's right, podcasting is amazing. Um, oh yeah, and she said she can't wait to get interviewed. I know. That's the other part of tonight's conversation. So these ladies took the quantum leap, and they are becoming podcasters. But what happens? Let me be very transparent and ask a question. What happens after you've been doing this for 5, 7 years? Haven't really moved away from your audience as far as who are your listeners. You're still giving to them. You've been podcasting for this long period of time that has really given you over 100 episodes. And what happens when you take another look at that? Do you just walk away from that audience? Do you tweak the message? Do you tweak the concept? Do you tweak the content that you want to give out? And I'm just putting that on out there. What does that look like to someone who's been podcasting for a while, met a measure of success? Do you walk away? Do you change up? Do you reinvent? Do you stop podcasting that show and start another one? I was faced with that. I really was. I was grappling with that. Her business, her voice, her conversation is over 5 years old, and I really had to wonder: have I come to the end of my road with that? And then I listened to the ladies in my class on Saturday, and my decision was no. There's a lot more to give. Because when I reinvented myself to become a podcaster, the things that I know now, no way would I be able to tell the stories that I'm able to tell now. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I should be afraid not to podcast because of everything that's deposited inside of me. I told those ladies in my class that the world was waiting for them to hear what they have to say. And I had to listen to myself after the class. But you know this and you know that, and you've seen this and you've seen that, and you're bubbling over with overflow with information that your guests have given you. You have insight. You are a reservoir that can't afford to be tapped. So I guess what I'm saying is if you are a podcaster and you've been doing it for a while, before you pull the trigger and pull away, uh, really evaluate what you're leaving behind. Really evaluate. Is it, that is it worth leaving? What are your audience going to say? And even if you haven't really been paying attention to your audience the way you should or would have, we fall into this thing of pod fade, and some of us don't put something out for over 90 days. But nevertheless, I just can't shake that feeling and knowing that somebody's waiting to hear from you. There are people waiting to discover you, and you can't forsake that. Nothing wrong with starting up another podcast. Nothing wrong with that at all. But on one end of the spectrum, remember the day that you were very afraid to get into this podcasting thing. Very afraid. And then if later on down the road, you met with all of these questions and you don't have quite all the answers and you don't know whether or not you should keep moving forward, can I tell you? Don't quit abruptly. Okay? Don't quit abruptly. Don't just draw the line in the sand and quit abruptly. This is just what I have found out. That's just what I found out. There's always many moving pieces and many moving parts and reasons why people quit abruptly or go into pod fade. And no one is to say that something it's legit or it's not legit. But I keep thinking about the people who are listening and waiting for that next nugget that can only come from you. That's something to take into consideration. Afraid to podcast and afraid not to podcast. Maybe we should be more afraid not to podcast that to that audience. Maybe it's worthy of tweaking and reconsidering rather than just dropping it. Now, somebody may say, Margo, what about outgrowing a place? And I kind of took that into consideration for myself. I wondered, had I outgrown her business, her voice, her conversation? I had to sit down and think about that. But like I say, that small voice in my head let me look at the women in my class and listen to them. And my final conclusion was, no, I haven't outgrown it. I've changed. So let's tweak her business, her voice, her conversation, but let's not drop it. Let's not drop it. Because do you know, it doesn't matter how long you've been doing something, how long you've been participating with a show, there's still thousands of people who don't even know about your podcast, who haven't discovered it. There are people who can go for years, and if you repurpose everything, they still won't catch every episode. That's the reality of it. And then we get people like Coach Janine, who says, yes, indeed, people are waiting for your unique voice. And that is the operative word, unique voice. We all have unique voices. So I had to take time to come on today and just be very transparent and reflect back on the day when I was very afraid to begin podcasting. And then 5 years down the road, here I am, afraid not to podcast. It's very real. Afraid not to continue to push out the message to women, boomer women in particular, that you have a voice. Don't ever forget it. You have a voice. And I've created a place where you can come and hear from and learn from other podcasters, other entrepreneurs, that you're not in this reinvention thing by yourself, that there is life. And you have to take it by the horn, as they say, and impart what you know and your life to others. Because, the scripture someone asked, am I my brother's keeper? In a way, we really, really are, because we are endowed with gifts and information that we accumulate along the way as we are running our race. And there are other people who are in back of you. So you owe it to them to share what you know, what you've learned. It's not all academics, it's life. What you've learned as far as becoming an entrepreneur and working that risky, roller coaster ride out, but then showing up and letting other women know in the ebb and the flow of it all, you just keep going. So if you're thinking about podcasting, I don't want you to think about it too long. I want you to do it. All right? I want you to do it. I want you to shout from the rooftop. I want you to do a manifesto and just document what your podcast is all about. I want you to do that. The reports are out. People are listening to podcasts, and they want to hear from you. Your, as Coach Janine says, your unique voice, your unique perspective on things. Okay? So don't ever buy into the fact that there's 50 billion coaches talking about this, that, and the other. Maybe, but keep in mind, there's only one you. There's only one way that you interpret things. And somebody could say, well, Margot's on there rambling. No, I'm trying to make sure that somebody else does not entertain the thought of stopping their podcast and actually following through on it. I had the thought, I don't want you to follow through it and do it, okay? Unless you're absolutely sure. There's always that other. And if you know in your gut that it's time to make a change, then do it. But if you are not sure, don't do it. Okay? That's all I want to leave you with. It's scary to begin a podcast, but it's scarier to not podcast after you've been doing it. Okay? So, you want to learn how to lay the bones down and become a podcaster, then you can DM me here. Everybody knows I'm at Podcast Academy. No, we changed things. Go beyond the interview.com. Go beyond the interview.com. You'll find me there. let's talk about you becoming a podcaster. I just finished up that wonderful 2-hour course, and then in 2 weeks I do the follow up with those ladies. So there are 3 different ways that I can help you become a podcaster. And if you find yourself at the crossroads and you are really wondering, is podcasting my thing any longer? I'm in pod fade. I haven't put anything out for 90 days. Then, let's have a conversation. Do I know everything? Heck no. I wouldn't begin to tell you that. But I know where I've been, and I know how it feels, and I know what it looks like. And we sometimes we jump the gun and we pull out way before time. Okay, sometimes we just need another set of eyes, another set of ears. If you're Christian, sometimes you just need somebody to pray with you about it, because podcasting takes a lot of time. It takes up on your time, and there is a measure of money that goes into it, and it is an investment over the years. Do you really want to walk away from that investment? Can we tweak it? Can we modify it? Maybe instead of everyday podcasting, you drop down to once a week. Or if once a week is not working out, maybe we drop down to once a month. What can we do so that you get your wheels back on the road? So that's it. And I know that if I was feeling some kind of way that way, somebody else is thinking that same thing. Can we think together? That's what these little segments are all about. So, you know where I am, and I will know where you are if you reach out to me. So, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and end, and you enjoy the rest of your week. I'll be back next week because I have another thought. And the thought that I have and I want to expound upon is riding on the 405, all those cars. What does that have to do with podcasting? Okay. So I'll see you next week. Bye bye. You love the music? Let me know also. Okay. Let me know about that. See you later. Bye bye.